While on the 2020 campaign trail, the PPPC had assured Guyanese that the sugar industry would be revitalized, and now in office, the administration is holding true to its promise. The move by the government to restart operations at the mills is aimed at returning livelihoods to thousands of estate workers who were left jobless after 3 of the 4 sugar estates were closed by the APNU-AFC government. Those closed estates were Enmore, Rose Hall, Skeldon, and Wales. Having won the elections and overcoming the legal hurdles thrown up by the coalition, the new administration moved swiftly to fulfill its promises. During his inauguration address, the newly elected head of state, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, gave the reassurance that his government is committed to the reformation and reopening of the sugar estates that were closed under the previous administration.
The sugar industry has virtually been abandoned in the last 5 years, and the workers have been deserted. No attempt has been made to seek a new path by which aspects of the industry could be salvaged for the production of profitable sugar and sugar-based niche products that would maintain jobs and, by doing so, maintain the dignity of labor. While we are putting together the torn fragments, the picture of the industry appears deeply distressing. The assets of Gaisuku seem to have been stripped by NISIL and disposed of. The once greatest contributor to our nation's economy has been beaten down to its knees, and the workers tossed to unemployment and misery. We intend to raise up the industry and to help it and its workers resume the once proud place.
President Ali then made the announcement that $5 billion from the government's emergency budget would go towards the sugar industry.
In order to rejuvenate Gaisuku, rehabilitate, and to bring back those estates into operation, recreating those jobs and supporting the economies in those areas where the estates were closed, we are setting aside $5 billion for budgetary support for Gaisuku directly.
After being abandoned for years, of course, the Guyana Sugar Corporation Gaisuku had to be revamped and restructured. A new board of directors was appointed, which is chaired by Mr. Pravin Chandra Dev. Subsequently, the corporation received a new chief executive officer, Mr. Sez Narain Singh. As government forges ahead to restart operations, the CEO said the Blairmont estate will focus exclusively on exporting packaged sugar, while the Enmore location will supply local markets. Mr. Singh toured the Blairmont estate, West Bank, Berbice, earlier this month.
The whole vision of Gaisuku right now is to move up the value chain as fast as we can, within the constraints of finances. But in addition to that, in addition to moving up the value chain, we're also opening 3 estates. So it's going up and it's going broader. So I want you to visualize what is happening there. Now, for us to move up the value chain, what Gaisuku right now produces 3 main products. They have other smaller products, but the 3 main products we produce is packaged sugar, which is our premium product, bagged sugar, which is sold in 50-kilogram bags, or as we call it, 100-pound bags, and bulk sugar. We make money on this. Gaisuku makes profits on this. We make a loss on bulk sugar. And the division is to move Gaisuku away from bulk sugar to value-added products. Because Gaisuku is real. Gaisuku is not in a mood right now to be a loser. We are going to win this battle. And how do we win this battle? By selling sugar at the right price level and the right products.
Minister of Agriculture Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa said there are many who believe that reopening the sugar estates is not a wise move. However, the government has already witnessed many lives turn around for good, even as the process is in the initial phase.
Now, one of the major commitments and promises that we have made is the reopening of the closed sugar estate. Now, we have started that process. And as I am speaking here, I am extremely happy. Government has made funds available, and we have started to re-employ those workers who have lost their job, whose services were terminated, and who are unable to earn for their families. Places like Rose Hall, Enmore, Skeldon, people are now flocking again to Gaisuku. You are seeing back once again life in that area is beginning back to start back again from those areas. The village economy is moving up, although we haven't had any major any production coming out of these areas yet. So at Rose Hall, over 100 workers have been employed already, and they are working to get the factory in order and the cultivation, to prepare back the cultivation so that we can have canes, produce cane, grow cane so that we can start the factory. Same thing with Rose Hall, Enmore and Skeldon. A number of workers have been employed, and they are now working there. Over the next few months, more workers will be needed, and those workers will be needed to plant canes in the cultivation and at the same time to start to work in the factory so that we can build. And I'm optimistic, I'm very optimistic. By the end of the second crop of 2021, we should have sugar coming out of these factories.
Meanwhile, the minister has formally written Indian High Commissioner to Guyana, His Excellency Dr. K.J. Srinivasa, for personnel and technical support in revitalizing the sugar sector. On October 10, both the minister and Dr. Srinivasa toured the Blairmont, Rose Hall, and Skeldon sugar estates in regions 5 and 6.
You know for a fact over the years a number of critical works were neglected in those factories that are running presently, and because of that they are only running between 40 to 60% capacity. However, the money that was budgeted in our budget, the $3 billion firstly, and then the two, we have already started to disburse funds to Gaisuku based on the requests that they have had for these estates. Firstly, those estates that are grinding, Iflot, Albion and Blairmont, and also those estates that we are planning to reopen. As I am speaking here today, those funds have already been disbursed, and as a result of that, we are seeing works commence rapidly in those estates that are we plan to reopen. And Gaisuku have started to hire workers at Rose Hall. They have hired over 125 workers already. At Skeldon here, I have just been informed by Mr. Vishnu Pandey that he have employed more than 100 workers, and by the end of this year, he will employ another between 200 to 300 workers. That is to prepare the cultivation. So I'll be meeting back once again with the cane farmers to help pursue them to start back cultivations. You know for a fact that the last time they have started, we were able to facilitate them with the financial institution loans, but when the factory was closed, the previous government left them on their own, and they are now very suspicious of replanting or going back to the cultivation. I am hoping that I can able to get their interest back again so that they can start cultivation, and at the same time we can able to facilitate the lending institution to facilitate them to have those soft loans once again so that we can have operation commence shortly here. extremely happy that the commitments that we have made in our manifesto is now being realized slowly here, but very shortly we'll intensify it and we'll have these operations on stream, coming on stream shortly.
Gaisuku has begun operations to prepare the land at Vryeds Lost and Success East Coast Demerara for cultivation. CEO Singh said works have to start now in order to have great results at the Enmore mill.
To feed that sugar mill, there must be a supply of mature cane that is at least 1 year old on the ground. This means that the land has to be prepared now so that those lands could start planting in January.
When up and running, all Guyanese, young or old, will reap the benefits of Guyana's rich gold sugar.